Hello and welcome to the first terrifying Time Sweeps Halloween special. I am your horrific host, Wyatt Zirkle.
I'm Connor Monkey.
And I'm Gary Monnig, and today we will be taking up the spirit of the season. Come with us as we waltz through the graveyard and visit the verge of what drives man insane. All right, happy Halloween, everybody, ladies and gentlemen.
Happy Halloween! Don't come to my house! I'll suck your blood!
Blah, blah, blah. I do not say blah, blah, blah.
Blah, blah, blah.
Don't say blay blah blay.
Anyway, terrible Dracula impressions aside, yeah, happy Halloween, ladies and gentlemen. Wyatt?
It's the time, my friends. It's the perfect time of season. The leaves are crunching, the pumpkins are being carved, candy in the streets, razor blades in the apples. It's the best time of year.
And those goddamn stink flies keep on getting into my house.
And then
Man.
They're a
the
problem.
stink bugs.
Those
If you live in the Midwest, you
damn
know what we're
stink
talking
bugs. Well, the thing is, they're not native to the United States. They come from Asia.
No, I thought the stink bugs were, but the Japanese beetles were.
The ones that look like shields?
Yeah, I thought those ones were from North America, but not this area.
No. They came from like what? I think it was like Pennsylvania. There was a shipment of something from Asia, and like there's a bunch of those little shits on there, and then since there's no natural predators for them, their population just freaking exploded.
Spooky Pennsylvania.
Okay, enough
I'm sorry.
about my rant. I've just had to kill so many of them.
Anyway,
You know, if you actually kill them inside your house, it makes it worse.
Oh, I know. No, like I've been I don't crush them. So you can
keep them
actually
They-
When they
you can
die,
actually-
in general, they release a pheromone that attracts more to
Well,
that
like,
spot.
you can, if you spray them with freaking like Dawn dish soap, it like clogs their pores.
I don't think that's true,
It's
because it's like
how
if I hit a raccoon and it's on the
They-
side of the
they
road,
breathe-
the
they
smell is
breathe-
not coming from its pores.
Well, they breathe like through their bodies.
I've just killed them outside. I take them
Why are
outside
we
and
talking-
murder them.
I don't know.
this isn't important to the topic of conversation for today.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Bugs.
Bugs.
Everyone hates them. They're everywhere. You can't go on Halloween without a bug hunt.
I guess.
Haven't you ever seen Starship Troopers? It's not Halloween related at all.
Anyway, something more on topic, Wyatt.
Yeah, where would you like to start?
Um,
There's all sorts of places to talk about on Halloween. I have a few ideas ready for you. I was gonna say since
Well,
we've
let's just
already
start-
talked about the overall candy.
right. So let's try to stay away from candy this episode.
Of course.
And if
There's-
you wanna listen to us talk about candy, make sure to go listen to last week's episode, for sure. But I saw that you had written down movies, and I think movies, at least for me, are a big part of Halloween.
Yeah. I was gonna say-
Whether it be horror movies or movies I just associate with Halloween, like I wouldn't consider Hocus Pocus a
yeah, I'm not
horror
about
movie.
to call it a horror movie.
right, but I always associate it with Halloween. It's always on.
Casper the Friendly
Spooky,
Ghost.
scary,
Casper.
Halloween fun. I'm going to keep doing that voice. I hope you know that.
Well, and then there's the movie Halloween.
Of course.
So and
The good old time.
Right.
Michael Myers.
Michael Myers.
The thing that does. Okay, I have to ask. Do you think William Shatner makes money off of the Halloween movies? Because that mask is a William Shatner mask.
I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know.
I feel like I've looked it up before, but I don't remember. He has to make at least a little bit of money. It's his likeness.
Right.
It's a Captain Kirk mask that they were just like, hey, wait a minute. We'll use that. They altered it a little. I think they like maybe turned it inside out.
They painted it white.
I thought they did something else to it.
Let me look it up real quick.
But yeah, a Halloween.
Who's your favorite horror movie person? Like out of I'm talking about like Jason and
Like slashers?
yeah, like Scream and
God, I hate Scream. was
Chucky and like all those guys,
was
like
gonna
all the classic horror movie,
classic or slasher is what
like,
I'm gonna
full,
about to
like,
get at.
Freddy Krueger and stuff.
Slasher.
Okay, sure. I don't know what you consider a slasher. I'm just like considering like all.
A slasher is a slasher. As bad
all,
as that
like,
sounds.
I would even like maybe like Alien, like
Because
Xenomorph and
what I'd call a classic horror movie is more along the lines of like the classics, the Universal monsters,
right.
the Hammer movies from England, where they took the same characters essentially and just did their own stuff with them.
Right.
Frankenstein, Dracula, the romantic horror.
Just
Not
all
not
these
romantic
guys,
in a
like,
certain way, but like
do your favorite slasher and then your favorite of the classics. Because my favorite classic is The Invisible Man. Like, I think just the way they did that back then.
that special effects,
The special effects that they
and it still
did,
looks good.
and it still looks good. Like if you really pinpoint it, like you could see how they did it. But for that technology back in the day, I just really appreciate.
Yeah, they
that.
wrapped a dude's body in felt.
Right, exactly. I just really appreciate that. And slasher, I don't know.
For slasher,
I don't-
more
I don't-
modern stuff, post
You're right.
1975.
Right, exactly. So like I don't know. I guess Michael Myers just because he's like classic. You know.
Yeah, I think out of all of them, I really like Michael Myers. Although, like, of those movies, Evil Dead 1 and 2 and Army of Darkness are probably my favorite of, like, that era
Mhm.
of the more
Which one is
horror movie. That would be Bruce Campbell.
that? Okay.
Army of Darkness being the one where he goes back in time and fights skeletons in, like, Camelot.
Right.
Evil Dead being the one where he's in his cabin. Or
Mhm.
it's not his cabin. It's a cabin in the woods.
Right.
The Necronomicon. That's my favorite movie villain right there. The Necronomicon.
Really.
It just screws up everything. Unleash Deadites, which are demon zombies.
Mm-hmm.
Make everything bad. You can't have a good time when there's Deadites. I used to really like Jason. I have a few Jason, like, actors' autographs on a hockey mask.
Really.
The
Well,
very
like-
first one, and then the guy that played him in 7 through 10.
Okay. Well, so like Jason just like made that original hockey mask, like what they wore back in the day to actually play this sport, like just made that iconic, but for horror.
Yeah.
So like that's something that he did that was really special. And I don't know, just I never really took like a liking to Jason. I don't know why. Just because I was like, okay, it's just a guy that likes to kill that can't be killed.
Yeah, I just like the mask. That's what drew me
Right.
to him. And Freddy
Exactly.
Krueger to me was just kind of like, but why?
Well, see, me with Freddy Krueger, I was always just like, wake up.
Right.
Wake up and he can't get you. Like,
It's like take a power nap.
right, exactly.
He's just gonna wait there and just
Get you.
he's just
He's
gonna,
gonna get you.
He like takes a smoke break every 15 hours and just is like, well, didn't get him this time.
Right.
Guess I'll wait till the next time. Them darn kids. A movie in that type of genre I've never really liked though. Chucky and Scream. Chucky more specific.
Scream was just always kind of meh
It's
to
really
me.
boring.
Like, I'm like, okay.
It's when I've made a few jokes that like there was no good movies in the 90s, and it's a joke. And then somebody,
Mhm.
when I say horror movies though, I do kind of mean that.
Okay.
I don't remember many good horror movies, true horror movies, to come out in the 90s in my
Mhm.
head. And understand, I'm saying as I remember that right now.
Right.
Because what comes to my mind is Scream, and I believe Candyman. I thought the first Candyman came out in the 90s, but I might be wrong about that.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was countless sequels of all these other poor movies. And I believe technically Army of Darkness came out in the early 90s, but it's more of a comedy than it is a horror.
Right.
But like Scream, it's just so like painfully 90s,
Mm-hmm.
and it's also just Wes Craven,
Right.
and he's just very. I don't know if I have Wes Craven's an interesting guy because he's the kind of person that's like Cannibal Hillbillies, Dream Demon. He turns Johnny Depp into Blood Fountain in the middle of a bed.
Well, okay. So what about your favorite OG monster?
Okay,
See, that's
before you get into that, I have an answer, or two answers. He might not get paid because it's a Kirk mask, not a Shatner mask.
I
But
see.
also, during the filming of Back to the Future 2, you know how like Crispin Glover was kind of weird, so they kind of booted him from the set, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So like they created a mask with his likeness, and he sued, and the Actors Guild created a new rule requiring that actors be paid for their likenesses used in a movie. So yes and no, possibly.
So does it depend on the mask, possibly, then?
Possibly.
If it's the one from 78, he might not get paid. But if it's the one that
Well,
they
it
made
was-
later to resemble that mask that looks even more like him,
The mold that was the life cast that was made that it is being used was made in 75.
well, yeah, that mold was, but I
Yeah,
mean, it
there-
doesn't
and
quite
there's-
look entirely like him, but there was a mask, like you just said,
Yeah.
that was remade. Isn't that what you just said?
No.
I thought you said that there was a different mask that they made to look more like his likeness.
No, I'm talking about Crispin Glover and like that was Back to the Future too. But like, we can talk about this later.
Okay.
It's irrelevant to the current conversation. I just found
William
an answer.
Shatner probably gets paid.
Well, yeah.
Probably.
He also went to the.
He's my true favorite
He also
murderer.
he also went to space. So
Yeah, he also got away with murdering one of his wives.
Oh.
Drowned her in a pool.
seriously.
Yes. You cannot tell me that he didn't know that she was drowning and didn't try to help.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Favorite
So-
OG.
Favorite OG of all that. It probably. Sorry, I didn't mean to blow into the mic.
You're
Like that.
good.
That probably just comes out awful. But yeah, there's so many of them that it's hard to choose. But I do think it's probably down to the. It's probably Frankenstein
Mm-hmm.
or even the Phantom of the Opera, like the 1925 Phantom of the Opera.
Right.
They
Truly
made
OG.
yeah. They made a remake. Universal themselves made a remake years later with a different actor.
Right.
And that movie ended up being more of a romantic comedy.
Mm-hmm.
But the first movie, 1925, that's actually probably is the most faithful to the book adaptation of the Phantom of the Opera.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't eliminate certain characters. It changes names. Like there's an inspector, but in the book I believe he's called the Persian.
Okay.
There's a whole thing with that. But yeah, I do really quite enjoy that actor. That was Lon Chaney Sr. He was the man of 1,000 faces. He did all of his own special effects work, all of his own makeup. And he was a silent movie actor. He did one movie where he got to talk. It was called London After Midnight.
Mm-hmm.
And it got lost
Like,
to this day.
No
There's
one-
only a few pieces left. No full film.
Hmm.
And I don't think any of the sound bits are left. His son, though, played the Wolfman.
really?
And he also did a bunch of other roles. But the guy who played the Phantom later, I believe in the early 40s, I want to say it was 1943 when that movie came out. It was either 41 or 43, but it was in color. First Universal monster movie in color, if I'm not mistaken. Other than the masquerade scene in the original 1925 Phantom of the Opera. Different, once again. That was Lon Chaney Sr. in the original. In the newer one, quote-unquote newer, it was Claude Rains who played the Invisible Man. So the Invisible Man, they all played double shift on a lot of them, except for the actor who played Frankenstein. Never
Right.
mind, I take that back. He did do double.
Okay.
Because he was also the Mummy.
Hmm.
I completely forget that sometimes, because in my head it's like, oh, the Mummy.
Oh,
Completely forget it's Boris Karloff.
right.
I was going to say, I grew up watching all of those movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that when I was younger, it's hard to choose a favorite. I know that Dracula, they've all always been there, but like Phantom of the Opera was always one that I truly liked. And I used to really like the Wolfman.
Mm-hmm.
And Dracula's always been there, but Frankenstein's really one that sticks.
Yeah.
None of them are very faithful to their source material,
Well, like
except for the Phantom of the Opera.
Frankenstein, kind of like just the whole like idea of him has inspired so many different things down
Yeah,
the line.
that design.
Right. Just.
And that wasn't the first Frankenstein movie at that point either.
Mm-mm.
And even Dracula, there was attempts to make Dracula movies before, but they didn't have the name licensing. That's where you get the movie Nosferatu.
No, yeah. No. Nosferatu. Or yeah.
They called it that because, of course, they couldn't get the rights to Dracula.
So is that kind of like anyone can use Nosferatu as a name because
I believe so now,
he doesn't have like
and it's also just like a regular name kind of a deal.
right.
I think it's like his last name. I don't remember. It's really fuzzy on that because I know in Germany the movie was called Der Vampire.
Okay.
That's also what there's also a ballet, I believe, also titled that, based on Nosferatu, but not Dracula, it's basically the same plot.
Mm-hmm.
Even though at the end, instead of staking him through the heart, they actually went with the whole sunlight thing.
Right.
Which
And
was-
that's where that came from,
Yeah,
right?
that's where the sunlight came from. Before that, it wasn't a thing. It's a thing in Dracula. In the book, he goes around walking in London during the day.
Right. So, yeah.
Never existed until 1920. Is that 22? That movie might be 99 years old this year. I believe it was the Cabinet. It's either 100 now or 99 now. Because there was also another movie that came out around similar timing called The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, also German, also silent. And that came out, horror movie as well, about the same time frame, year before.
Right.
Ish.
Well, do you think that I think I enjoy sound design in movies and stuff like that. So, like, I honestly think, like, going back to the quiet films, or what were they called?
Silent
movies. Going back to that would just take away from, like, horror, like the horror aspect of it, because, like, music building
it's a different kind of horror. I kind of like
Right.
it when there is no music in terms of horror, because that means you're not relying on
on
something
it, right?
else.
Or
You're
just the
truly
ambient,
captivating an audience.
just like ambient sound. You know, I really enjoy that, watching those kinds of films. Just like the pipes creaking or stuff like that. Just like
usually that's kind of my problem with most modern horror movies, is that they don't rely on sound enough.
Mhm.
You've been given this gift, but here are these movies from 100 years ago, almost, and they were doing exactly what you're trying to do, and you were failing at it.
Right.
These were just a few Germans that were just like, hey, let's make this funny looking set. Let's put this dude in makeup. And they made it eerie and spooky, and you could sit on the edge of your seat. Lon Chaney, when he took off his mask, there were supposedly people that fainted in the audience because they've never seen anything like it before. I was going to say,
crazy.
I can put a picture up somewhere for that. We can put one maybe in the video, or just, I'll find a link and I'll put it in the description or the comments when this is out. I'll link a video to talking about his makeup during that. Because it's actually really fascinating, but I don't need to go into that right here.
Right. What else do you have on your list of
I also have
wonders?
Horror games, the history of Halloween itself. I'm a little fuzzy on some of it, but I feel like I might go off on a little bit of a rant, so we might avoid that for a little bit. But there's also, like, I think it'd be kind of fun to talk about some of our scariest experiences. I also have some more disturbing type things.
Okay.
Like Ed Gein. There was also some other stuff that I find kind of interesting. There was a few serial killers in Kansas City. There was also the murder at the Hotel President downtown. That spawned a huge national mystery.
Yeah.
We still don't know who the dude was that was actually murdered. We don't know his real identity, and we don't know who killed him. That's part of the big problem with it. There's also all sorts of stuff. Like, we already talked about Halloween a little bit, but John Carpenter, as a director, how much has he influenced the holiday with all the different movies he's made?
Yeah, right.
It is truly his season. John
Yeah.
Carpenter, I think, around Halloween, the only other director that probably gets this much time talked about in this season is maybe Tim Burton.
Yeah.
Because as much as Wes Craven also has movies out there, like New Nightmare, The Hills Have Eyes, Nightmare on Elm Street, and Scream, you don't hear his name as much as you will hear John Carpenter, Tim Burton, especially in fall and Halloween, October season.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Those two guys have influenced so much of Halloween and the holiday over the past
Jack Skellington,
30 and 50 years almost.
Edward Scissorhands, all of it.
I was going to say all of his work, really.
Yeah.
All of his work comes back to Halloween and something spooky, and John Carpenter, some of his movies are literally titled Halloween.
Shit. Batman, man.
Even Batman.
Even Batman.
Even if it takes place at Christmas.
I know.
They just gave they just really gave people ideas to dress up as things.
Truly.
Right.
Truly.
If
yeah.
they didn't do anything, if they didn't do anything for you watching those movies, if you don't like them as directors, if you don't like their movies, you don't like the art they make, you can admit they stimulate the economy near Halloween so much that they have made an industry in and of them two selves.
Oh
as
my god, I
directors.
can't imagine how big freaking Tim Burton's paycheck is right now.
Oh, I'm sure he gets so much money, just a few cents off of each piece of intellectual property that gets a little bit of attention right now.
Mm-hmm.
He probably walks away each Halloween with just a few thousand, few 100,000 maybe. Enough to that he's definitely doing just fine.
Yeah.
Unless he just blows it all on blow.
Maybe.
Would
I don't
he?
know. I don't know. People stimulate their creativity in weird ways.
Yeah.
Just like Rob Zombie when he stopped drinking alcohol and his music started to suck. I was gonna say, don't tell me I'm wrong. Once he went sober, it was never the same.
Oh yes, we condone alcoholism as long as it makes good music. Yes.
As
I'm
long as it
just
makes you
saying.
creative.
Oh my god, yes.
Some people need a muse. And Rob Zombie apparently really needed the bottle.
Jeez.
Have you heard his
Wyatt.
music? Have you seen his movies?
Well, anyway,
Let's get away
talking
from
about,
that before Wyatt gets his canceled.
horror video games. You listed that earlier. Horror video games have always been like a kind of a. I've always preferred horror video games over horror movies. I've never really been the biggest fan of horror movies.
I don't like either. Well, I don't play. I don't do either. I haven't ever done either.
I don't play horror movies either.
I just can't. The suspense kills me because I know it's about to happen, but I still get freaked out.
I just find jump scares.
My
annoying.
ADHD intuition has
Well, I
me
think we
going
talked
crazy.
about this on the podcast before.
Might have been last episode.
Jump scares and stuff, and I think I might have. There's only one franchise that I've ever known to do jump scares well, and they're modeled for jump scares, and that's the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, they're the only thing. No other game franchise in the horror side of games have had one as good as jump scares.
Well, Outlast.
Okay. Or
Yeah.
but then two have so little go into the game, and so many people try to dig to get backstory and stuff like that out
to
of the
simply
game.
do jump scares and get
Yeah.
people that invested,
Into
I don't
learning,
think it'll be achieved ever again.
yeah, and just
Lightning struck.
right, and honestly, just to people trying to find the lore on these animatronics and why they're coming to life.
Hell, Scott Cawthon probably inadvertently Cawthon, whatever. Cawthon probably inadvertently caused the downfall of Chuck E. Cheese.
I think it was
'Cause all the
already on a
kids are
downfall.
Well, because all the kids are scared now.
Because it's
Well, they don't even really have animatronics anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not anymore.
Last time I went there, they didn't have,
Wow.
and that was years ago.
Wow.
Yeah,
you're
telling me it
rip
wasn't
showbiz,
last week?
man.
It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't last week. But
Fun fact. Do you guys know about Rock-afire Explosion? That was the name of the band. I don't remember the name of the actual restaurant.
mm-mm.
So the place that inspired Chuck E. Cheese inspired Five Nights at Freddy's,
Right.
the original animatronic restaurant, actually started here in Kansas City.
Really?
Well, yeah, the
Showbiz. That's what it was. Showbiz Pizza.
Well, Showbiz. Well, Chuck E. Cheese and Showbiz were two separate, concurrent running companies, and then they merged.
But Showbiz happened before.
I know, and it happened here. It's it was.
My point was that they were from Kansas City.
Well, the one, the one that we grew up by, that was the first one.
Yeah, I know that. I'm the one that told you that.
Yeah, I know.
I was going to try and explain that to the viewers.
Sorry.
Well, anyway, but
'Cause it
At
no
least I'm
longer
talking.
stands.
At least I'm talking. Okay.
That is true.
I don't usually talk all that much. I'm trying.
But the original building
And
that
we
had
appreciate it.
the Showbiz Pizza, the original Showbiz Pizza that started all this,
right.
was up the street from me and Connor's house. Literally up the street from Connor's.
Yeah.
It's been torn down since then.
Yeah, it was on Antioch. It was the Antioch Chuck E. Cheese.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah,
Up
that
until
was, that was the first one.
That was the first Showbiz Pizza. That's where, if we didn't have that, we wouldn't have had Five Nights at Freddy's. That one episode of Gravity Falls.
Yeah.
That one movie that has Nick Cage not say a single word and fight the entire cast of Five Nights at Freddy's.
Or
I don't remember what that movie's called, but if you get the chance to watch it, it's on Hulu.
and also,
Just look up Nicolas Cage.
Is it the cast?
No, it's just the funny way to call it. It's like got its own different set of animals. Like there's a weasel, an ostrich, and a hippo,
Oh, so basically bootleg Five Nights at Freddy's.
and a fairy. Oh yeah, definitely bootleg Five Nights at Freddy's. Nicolas Cage doesn't say a single word
Seriously?
In the whole movie?
in the whole movie. He makes grunting noises.
Ugh. Ugh. Ugh.
Yeah, and he takes like a break every 5 minutes. And they actually use that as a really good comedic beat because like there's a fight going on between him and another animatronic, and he like puts his finger up and stops it. And he's fighting with another human being. He looks at them, looks at the door, walks off, gets a beer, drinks, and they continue fighting. And then like he's over there for like 5 minutes, movie time, not actual time,
Mm-hmm.
until the timer goes off in movie. And he's just like crushes the beer can, throws it away, and then he goes back to murdering animatronic creatures.
That's so weird. Like, just the... I don't know. And just Five Nights at Freddy's a big deal for me in horror aspects of video games because it's some people will probably consider those games cheap horror.
Oh,
because
it
of
definitely
jump scare,
is.
like,
but
because of jump
arguably,
scares.
almost all horror anymore is cheap horror.
Right.
That's where
And,
horror comes from.
Um,
Entertainment. Cheap entertainment.
I forget what game. Like, and
Penny
I'm
Dreadfuls.
really waiting for a game to come across and just be actually scared. Like, you're, and they've been made
fully immersed.
Yeah,
You were terrified.
They've been made, I'm sure, but I haven't played them. And just like you are immersed and like you literally don't know what's gonna happen. Like
That's the thing I think about horror. It's hard to make something. If you know anything about anything, it is hard to make something that everybody will continuously all be like, "Oh, I didn't see that coming."
right.
Yeah.
Because if you've seen one horror movie, you've really seen them all.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, and
That's why I like romantic horror movies.
like something that really actually did the horror thing for me. It wasn't like I haven't gotten like Five Nights at Freddy's on my PlayStation yet, like the VR version. But one thing that's done it for me, Saints and Sinners. Like that, like the
Walking Dead.
Yeah, because like you never know whenever zombies are just gonna go bah, and like burst
Right.
through a door. And I need to play through the DLC on that. Oh, that's gonna be fun.
Well, and see, like, what was I gonna say? Like Until Dawn.
Oh yeah.
Like, I don't know if you consider that.
I call it horror.
Like, yeah, it's. I mean, there's like a monster, the Wendigo. Like,
if it incites dread, I would call it horror.
right. Okay.
Which also means anything could be horror.
In that
it's
game-
about how it's presented.
That game kind of did something different with gaming, and it gave you the choice whether to kill everyone or
Yeah,
try
or
to
just
save everyone. Like,
save or kill.
And
I think that's really going to be the future of horror games in a way.
right. And I enjoy that because it really gives you a sense of responsibility while as you're playing the game. It puts you in these people's, like, it puts these people's lives in your hands, and it's a stressful feeling.
Wasn't there another game
Like
made by
that. I forget what it's called, but it's on you're on like a ship. You're on like a
Yeah.
boat.
Oh,
that
that
crashes.
one. Yeah. I don't
Um,
remember the name of it.
I don't
remember
either.
being excited for it, and then I remember it being extremely boring.
It did not get as much attention as Until Dawn did,
Yeah.
for sure. Because like, how do you follow up a game
It
that's
just
that successful?
Wasn't even that good though. It's like they made Until Dawn, and they were like, "All right, this is our magnum opus. Let's plan for it." And then they were like,
Copy-paste.
"Crap, we need another idea." Ghosts.
What if we
Right.
do Until Dawn with ghosts on a boat?
on a boat, and then we
Ghosts on
kill
a
him.
boat.
I remember there was an ending to that game where like the Coast Guard shows up and they just shoot you.
What's the point of that?
I don't know. Like it's like one decision, can like make the Coast Guard kill you. I don't know. Like one decision in the whole game.
See, it'd be different if you were like, I don't know. I don't think that that's a very rewarding way to end the game,
Like,
especially if it's almost
so-
random, like the Coast Guard just
I
comes
think it was
in.
FaZe Jev's playthrough of the game, because he'll do like a playthrough of a horror game that seems interesting, every once in a while. And then there's another game that was like this, with the eyebrows kid.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
Adam
yeah.
Warlock.
Yeah.
It's Little Hope or something like that.
That sounds familiar.
And that was popular. Like, people loved that game that played it. I've never played it, but it was an Until Dawn like choice-driven game. But yeah, those games are popular. I had another game in mind that I totally
remember a
blanked on.
game that was based like long after humanity has like died, and they uploaded hundreds of thousands of people's consciousness into a ship, and it had to be launched. It was a game called Soma.
It sounds very
That's
familiar.
one of the
Yeah.
first games I remember. I watched a playthrough from it, and it truly scared me.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not actually about like jump scares and running away. There's more to it.
Right.
Once you're immersed into it, you have to think about the existential dread of you aren't actually you either, possibly. You're a copy of you.
Right.
Your consciousness has been downloaded. Are you you? When you look into the mirror, you're not even going to see the face that you think you have. You're going to see a robotic icon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you are the one responsible for saving what's left of humanity's collective consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they called it the Ark.
Huh.
You
Well,
know,
and then there's
biblical
all
stuff.
the zombie movies. Not
Yeah.
movies.
Yeah, countless
games,
zombie video games. Because
like
nobody
Left-
can think
Left
of
4
something
Dead.
better.
Left 4 Dead. That there's a new one out, The Back for Blood.
Oh, you said cheap horror.
Yeah.
That's what cheap horror is.
Zombies.
Because there's no more ultimate. Zombies can be used great, or you can just have zombies in a movie because you need a bad guy. You need some kind of outside force of evil,
Yeah.
and zombies are easy.
Yeah.
Right.
Because how do you make a zombie good?
You can't.
The only way you can only make a zombie worse in one way too. Make them Nazis.
Make them Nazis or make them be able to run.
But even then, those are just fast zombies.
Right.
So it's like they're still human enough. But
Give
as soon as you put that running zombie in a Nazi uniform,
Oh my God.
it's only worse.
Have we ever gotten a zombie movie or like I guess like game would be like World War II zombies, but like a zombie movie that took place in World War II or World War
Oh, there
I?
was several. World War One. I think I can think of one that's like a brain parasite thing and like crawls up your nose. And there's one horror movie or horror-ish. It's more like an action horror type deal.
Mm-hmm.
It stars Wyatt Russell,
Okay.
and
Okay.
it's called Overlord.
Mm.
Nazi zombies. They take over a French town, and there's this magic well of zombie goop under it. The Nazis are trying to use it to make soldiers, super soldier Nazis,
Right.
and essentially,
I remember. Yeah, I know what you're talking about now.
yeah,
You said super soldier zombies, and I was like, okay. Well, so what you just said to me was like, are zombies considered more? I honestly, looking at it as I say this, I think I consider zombies more action based rather than horror now.
Yeah.
because that's
Well,
the easiest way to work with
like,
them anymore. Because how do you add tension when you
with
know it's
zombies.
basically just going to be running?
I
Right.
mean, the Resident Evil game, I guess.
Even the newer ones, though, it's
Well, like the
basically
original.
just run around.
Well, like Resident
Original
Evil.
1, 2, I think 3.
I think Resident Evil
The
is just.
original one.
I think Resident Evil has just changed a lot as the
Oh yeah, the first one was just
The-
supposed to be zombies in a house.
right.
The
Well, and
second
then
one were zombies in a city.
well, and then 7 and 8 are just completely different games than the
Seven.
first.
Seven's great.
7. That's the one where you get you're in the house and with mom or the family, right?
Super bumpkin zombie family. Yeah.
Yeah.
With the mushrooms.
Uh-huh. And they like corrupt your girlfriend or whatever. Well, then 8 is like that's kind of like I would consider that like a soft reboot to the franchise if you look at it.
Yeah.
'Cause
8
7 had nothing to do with the rest of the thing, like the rest of
other
the
few characters here
Right.
and there.
and then
Yeah.
8 picks up on with the guy that you play as in 7. So I would consider that like almost a soft reboot to the series, honestly.
Yeah, I'd call 7 the reboot, 8 the continuation, and then they were like, it's going to be easier to be action than it is
Right.
horror.
Mm-hmm.
So you get Lady Dimitrescu and the Nazi dude that talks like a weeaboo.
And the oozing person that makes the...
Oh, yeah, and then the baby things.
And teleporting fat guy, yeah.
Yeah.
See,
that guy made me so uncomfortable to look at him.
Teleporting.
You know the
store-
fat guy.
the Smosh joke with the Chosen?
Yeah.
That's how
Yeah.
Heisenberg in that game talks to me. So, you got away from my sister. I'm going to chase you with this airplane engine dude I made. Beware, new guy.
Beware.
You will not run away.
That fat guy who you buy things from,
Yeah.
though, like that guy just made me so uncomfortable. I was like, this guy is
he's
like,
hilarious.
this guy's like a pedophile or something.
The Duke.
Like, yes, I was like, this guy is just so gross to me. Like, he just gives off this awful vibe. I mean, he's supposed to. So, like, I guess that's just good writing and good voice acting. But like,
the way he is specifically.
mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So that reminded me.
Okay.
There was supposed to be a Call of Cthulhu game, and I don't know what happened to it. I remember watching the trailer. This dude from E3, it was like a few years ago. It was like I was more excited for it than Cyberpunk at one point.
Okay.
And you see this dude, he goes through it, he fights a tentacle monster, he shoots at it with his Tommy gun and all this stuff.
Is this like
His
World
hat
War?
falls onto the ground.
Is this like a World War II thing? Like he's in the trenches?
No.
Okay.
That's a different game.
because I was really excited for that game when I saw the trailer for that. And
That did come out at some point.
Are you sure? Like, well, like I don't know what happened to it. Like, there's the trailer where he's like running through the trenches, and you just look up and you see this giant thing.
Yeah.
in the lightning.
That was a horror,
and that looked
Lovecraftian
awesome.
based World War I game.
Yeah.
This one was just a dude in the 20s being a dude in the 20s, shooting at tentacles, and then tentacles take him away, and then he's reborn into the tentacle goop again, and then he goes through the loop again.
So Deathloop, but with Cthulhu.
Kinda.
Okay.
I thought Deathloop, you're conscious of the looping.
You are.
Yeah, you are.
Okay, this guy was not.
Oh.
He doesn't know he's getting looped.
Oh.
I think it was just a tech trailer kind of a thing to show you what the in-game, or not in-game, but like the cinematic would look like.
Right.
It's still, I think it was literally just called Call of Cthulhu possibly, but there's like 1,500 games called Call of Cthulhu. Tabletop and video.
Any other games that we're like forgetting about? Like, we talked about zombie games because there's thousands of them.
Yeah. Always zombie.
Five Nights at Freddy's. Slenderman game.
Yeah.
That game terrified me I don't know why. That game terrified me. You're running through the forest.
You were told to be scared of it, so you were.
Like, you're running through the forest just trying to collect the notes, man. And like,
Get the papers.
get the papers.
Hide from tall boy.
So I forgot about this game until we started talking about Slenderman because it made me think of Markiplier, and then Markiplier made me think of Amnesia.
Oh, yeah.
Amnesia.
A game that almost every every gamer that has been around for longer than the past couple
Stefano.
years has played that game on their channel.
And PewDiePie. Oh my God.
Like,
Stefano.
a lot of people.
PewDiePie really got his start in my argument.
Well, and see, I think Markiplier got his start on Amnesia. I think that's what really like blew him
Amnesia
up.
is where everyone got it.
Right. And I never. That's where Markiplier discovered his fear of mannequins was Amnesia.
Barrels.
Which I don't get that, but then again,
And isn't that where Tiny Box Tim came from?
yeah, Amnesia.
Yeah, Tiny
Amnesia.
Box.
Yeah.
And PewDiePie with the barrels.
And Stefano.
And Stefano.
Where's the blacksmith?
Oh, what was that game?
I think it was Amnesia.
That wasn't Amnesia. That's a different game. Oh, I don't remember what it's called. He just goes around town. I think that one has like werewolves or something. It's like, where's the blacksmith?
Well, so Markiplier played another game. I think Markiplier is kind of like the guy for horror games on YouTube. I think I would consider him.
that is his.
Like, because that's where he started, and like he's
he
kind of like
still does it.
right. The people like, ooh, a new horror game came out. Let's go see what Markiplier has to say about it. Because
That's what he would do.
it's just you trust his opinion on horror games because he knows a lot about it because he's been doing this for like 10 years now.
He's the horror game boy.
Right. He played one game where you're on a boat and like there's this lava monster type thing.
Keep going. I'm
What?
almost on board with remembering what you're talking about.
So you're on this boat and you have to collect these parts to make the lifeboat so you can get off the boat, and you're the only person on the boat except for this lava monster thing.
Maybe I don't know.
And like
at all
you have
what
to.
you're
It starts
talking
with an A, but you have to like. It's basically playing keep away with this monster, and if he catches you, it's bad, bad news.
about. That reminds me.
There was an animated of it.
Do you know a Humboldt squid can clean the human body in 8 minutes?
A humble squid.
Humboldt squid. Clean the flesh right off of the human body in 8 minutes.
Ew.
Yep. They also hunt in packs.
Neat.
Why do we know this?
Oh, the Crooked Man.
Crooked Man.
The Crooked Man.
Is that the game?
I believe so.
Well, and see, like, a big, like, I've always wanted to do this on Halloween, just download a whole bunch of horror games on Steam and just play them all night on Halloween.
Yeah.
Like,
just going for it.
Right. Like, I think that'd be a freaking awesome night for Halloween. But, yeah.
You know cephalopods don't come from Earth.
Really? What?
Cephalopods.
So they're aliens.
Squids. Octopus.
What do you mean they don't come from Earth?
Name an organism that looks like a cephalopod.
A cephalopods.
Shut up.
I mean, what do you mean? Name a freaking organism that looks like a giraffe.
Other deer and horse-like creatures.
Lies.
Yes.
They don't have long necks.
I'm pretty sure a giraffe is pretty closely related to a deer in terms of, like, existence. Like, more than, like, I don't know, a starfish.
What about a blobfish?
What is a blobfish supposed to look like?
Yeah, name an organism that looks like a starfish.
Isn't a blobfish technically not that far off from other forms of fish that are technically like corals?
You know, they only look like that when they get taken out of water. They don't look like a slimy mess on
it's because
a table.
the pressure and
Right.
stuff.
Well, so what else have we got on your list of horror mystery items?
I got a few serial killers.
Okay, let's talk about Kansas City's serial killers.
Which one you want to start with?
Yes.
I was going to say, murder in room 1046. I don't know if I remember enough details of that to give an accurate description.
Okay, how about the one that you're most familiar with on the list? Yes.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with that one.
I don't know. Let's just go. I want to hear about it.
The Kansas City Ripper.
It's like Jack the Ripper, but in Kansas City.
Sure.
And is he Italian?
Never caught him.
I'd assume so.
He was also called the Kansas City Killer or the Kansas City Vampire.
Oh.
That's much more colloquial.
I've never heard of this.
I can't say that word until much more recently.
Colloquial.
Thank you. So, their thing, we don't know. We're assuming it was a guy because, most murderers kind of are.
Right.
But their thing was they would kind of just start ripping up from, like, chest and up.
Yeah.
Assuming knife wound goes in, open, blood everywhere. Going for the jugular. That's where they came up with vampire. So it kind of did its thing from around April 1935 to July 1935.
Yeah.
So not that many months. Kind of like Jack the Ripper. It didn't take very long.
Mm-hmm.
And this was 1930s mafia time, so it could have been anybody. It could have been a number of people, or it could have been one guy.
Do we have a number of victims?
I'm trying to remember. Let's say 5. It was in different areas around town, but they all followed the same MO.
Okay.
They all followed the same kind of pattern. They were all just straight up destroyed out. Chest, neck, messed up.
Who was his main target?
Differed. That's
So
the
he
thing,
didn't
though.
like
Men and women, but you primarily see it in more men.
Oh.
Very few women. I want to say it was like 2 women, 3 men. So it wasn't like he was targeting prostitutes. Probably people that were somehow in some kind of debt related to the mafia.
Right.
But they were all shared the same kind of disgusting, just open wounds.
Right.
Blood everywhere, that same kind of MO. And that was part of the thing. People wanted to link it to the 1046 hotel president,
Mm-hmm.
except 1046 happened before.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that, if I'm not mistaken, 1046 was like early 20, or no, not early 20s, early 30s. It was either early 30s or late 30s on that one. It was either 31 or 38 on that one. So people are probably sure that those aren't related, other than the fact that, dude, there'd be blood everywhere.
Right.
That's the thing about 1046. Is they came back to check on the guy because, hotel service.
Right.
And there was just blood everywhere. There were parts of him in the bathroom, parts of him on the ceiling.
Ew.
Yeah, dude was
So,
everywhere.
A mess.
The man became the room.
Ugh.
Ew.
He was
But
like
yeah.
a gas. He filled the container that he was in.
Exactly.
So did someone just blow him up?
Oh, no. It was by hand.
Oh, ew.
Oh, yeah, mafia business, dude.
Oh.
You beat a body enough, though, it's going to get blood everywhere. So it was probably beaten first, and then they were like, well, let's send a message.
Right.
Yeah.
Chop him up.
And for those of you that aren't like the two of you probably that aren't from Kansas City or know anything about the Kansas City, we were very involved. Like Kansas City was very involved with like
Center of the country.
an Italian mafia, like,
Irish mafia.
Irish mafia.
Italians came to visit. The Irish were the main ones in town.
But
Under Tom Pendergast, Al Capone would come in and stay downtown every so often over in
Right.
the Crossroad District.
so
Actually, had a few
big
different
mafia.
apartments.
We're just a big mafia city. Like
Right, just like any major city of the time,
Right.
people would come through, but it helped that we were a dead center in the country,
mm-hmm.
north and south, east and west. Also
Right.
why we have so much crime that still passes through. In terms of like crime, there's still cities that are worse. We still rank in the top 5 for like murders in the entire
And also
country.
trafficking.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at. That we have drug and sex trafficking still go through this part of the country just because we are the middle. At
Mhm.
some point, you're probably going to come through here.
Right.
But it helped during that time frame.
Here in
early
St.
on.
Louis,
Yeah.
just
Well, Kansas City's even more like the
Right.
center.
right. But just somewhere in Missouri, you're gonna pass through.
Probably. I was going to say, we have the meth capital of the world. Speaking of independence.
We had, right?
No, we came back.
We seriously?
It's like watching a soccer match.
God damn.
It went to some place in China, and then it came back to Kansas City. Technically, it's part of the Kansas City proper, but it's Independence, Missouri.
Hmm.
Without Independence, Missouri, we wouldn't have had Harry S. Truman. He wouldn't have gotten to politics without the mafia. So,
Anyway,
speaking of
back to the
Independence, Missouri.
vampire.
Oh, I was going to go ahead on to another
Without-
killer.
Okay, go
without
back to the-
independence, we would not have shake and bake.
Is that true?
Yeah. Shake and bake was invented in independence.
I have so many questions. You know what else was invented in Independence?
Sure.
My mom. I mean,
Actually, I don't remember his true name, but he was known as the Btk Killer. Kind of like saying Detective Comics, or DC Comics because it's comics. BTK stands for Bind, Torture, Kill.
Oh.
He's the guy that would take people, stuff them in. Actually, a lot of people do this. He actually just did it a lot, and he made national news, I believe, doing it. He would take them, bind them up, torture them a little, stuff them in a barrel.
Oh,
And he had a bunch of them in his yard.
and why?
Buried them. Well, the same reason Ed Gein made lamps out of people's skins.
Ugh.
They just had problems.
Why are people so messed up?
Well,
Mental illness.
yeah, some of it's just an array of things that nobody was ever like, hey, do you need help? Instead, it just got to a point where it climaxed, and they were like, well, might as well start making lampshades out of my neighbor.
Ugh.
Hey, Becky, you got any sugar? And I took your face. Just like that. Happened exactly like that. But, so, he was actually from Independence, Missouri, BTK. Bind, torture, and kill. Stuff him in a barrel.
Mm-hmm.
And just, kind of do his thing. I'm not sure how many victims he had, though.
I don't
I'm
want to look
pretty
it up.
sure it went over 10. I don't want to look it up because I'm talking right now. But, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, it was a good amount of people that were like, hey, something's not right. And there's a correlation with this one white boy.
Right.
And then there was a Bob the Butcher.
Ew.
I think he was also called the Butcher. Kansas City Butcher.
The butcher.
But he ran Bob's Bazaar. He had it in the Westport. I think it was Westport Flea Market. He had a booth there, and that was called Bob's
Okay.
Bazaar. But, he kind of did his thing. Catch them, butcher them. They're dead. He stuffs them in places. Big time murderer. 70s, I want to say. 70s,
Really?
80s. I don't remember what year he actually died. But he's followed basically the same thing that every twisted serial killer does.
Yeah.
A little bit of sexual assault here and there, a little bit of murder everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, those were like the two biggest in Kansas City at least, because they were ones that had huge amounts of numbers that were just by themselves,
Okay.
not affiliated with crime,
Right.
other than just one man killing machines.
Mm-hmm. So we have 10 minutes left. So what do you want to talk about for 10 minutes?
I don't
10
know.
minutes. I got this.
Okay.
I got
Go
this.
off. Go off, Wyatt.
Monkey Frankenstein head transplant. You didn't expect that, did you?
not expect this.
So,
Oh,
it was.
Robert Christian Hansen died in,
Is that which one's that? Bob the Butcher?
I believe so. Media, known by the media as Butcher Baker.
Butcher Baker.
Wait, no, that was Alaska.
Never mind. Bob's Bazaar is what you'd want to look up. Bob's
Anyway.
Bazaar Killer.
Monkey head transplant.
So think Frankenstein,
Okay.
but monkey.
Okay.
So it was kind of a thing they tested a few times. Don't remember what year it was. We had color cameras. I know that. It's a legit story. Not yanking anything. Monkey head transplants. They were
Like onto
tested-
humans?
No. From monkey to monkey.
Oh, okay.
And they would survive for a little bit. Then they'd die. But, so they'd do a little bit of the head swappy-doo right here and there. They'd cut the monkey's head off surgically, nice and full. What I don't understand is the part that I think sounds extremely fictional, but apparently it's actually happened, and they got shut down. They actually did it. They actually did it. Not like sewing on. It's like, oh, no, we just got this dead monkey with a different head. No, this monkey was alive enough to like pump a little bit of blood back through and kind of open its eyes.
1984 and 1987.
Bob's Bazaar. Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, monkey head transplant. It was actually a thing, very Frankenstein-like. They cut off one monkey, put it on another monkey.
So, why? First of all, why? And second of all,
To prove
how?
they could. How is the question that I kind of have always pondered, and it's kind of the part of medical stuff that I've always looked into because your boy liked Frankenstein. So the part that I see the problem with in the how is specifically nerve endings
right, that, and then,
and how small monkey organs are.
well, and then how, like, who's conscious, like, you're just basically transferring consciousness to a different body.
Yes and no.
You have monkey one's personality and thoughts.
To me, that's more sounding like a
On
brain transplant versus, I'm talking full French style head off.
Yeah, but what's in the head?
Pick up
French style.
French style, you know.
What's in the
good old
head?
kit.
Brain.
But also an entire head.
Right.
I'm talking entire skull. I'm not talking just like the brain. I'm talking like, this isn't just the consciousness. They're
Yes,
putting
I get what you're saying.
imagine if I took you and Connor.
Yes, I get what you're
right
saying.
here, right now, took Connor's head and put it on you.
Fun fact,
It would look really
there was
weird.
actually a book about that, like when we were kids, like a head transplant because the kid got cancer.
Oh yeah,
that was
you
set
read that
in
seventh grade?
Kansas City.
Was it really?
Yes,
That was Kansas City.
yes,
That's even weirder.
yeah. It was set south of the river, but yeah,
South of the river, Kansas City.
yeah.
It's a big town.
Metropolitan area.
Yeah, like I said, Independence is part of it technically. But they took one monkey, put it on another monkey. Basically, it was just like, as you said, a consciousness swap because it didn't last long enough to actually, be like, look at it crawl around. This monkey has a different face now.
He tried crawling
Or a
around
different
and
body
started
now.
shaking.
I don't even think it did that. I think it like opened its eyes and just kind of like blinked back out of existence because it's like, it's nerve endings. There's so much more damage that you do when you cut one.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, and then how do you like hook up the nerve? Yeah, the nerve endings.
The
like,
nerve endings is the part
that's
that
how
it's
the brain
really tricky
communicate-
to me.
That's how the brain communicates to the rest of the body. Is through.
and if the brain
Right.
isn't used to the body, how the hell is it supposed to do? And also blood types, bro.
Well,
You think
they'd
they
have
cared
to be
about
blood
that?
type. They'd have to be blood type compatible
Because I know that they know about
for this
that
to work. For this to work, they'd have to be blood type
to
compatible.
truly work.
But like for the experiment, they were probably just like, it's not gonna live anyway. So I don't,
Right? No,
we don't
I
really
don't think
care.
they cared about blood typing the monkeys.
They were
I think
literally-
they were
yeah,
just like,
why would they
let's
care?
shove this monkey head on this monkey. I'm
It's
gonna
so
take my
weird.
monkeys and shove them together and
Well,
make a
and
big
see,
monkey
sometimes
sandwich.
nerve endings can grow back. Like they can grow back together. Like so people have their finger cut off. They could, so if it's put back on in the short amount of time, like it could
Right? Yeah.
before
it
the
needs
nerve
to-
ending, before the nerve endings
before they're
die
just-
in your finger,
Yeah. Before
they
they're
could
just
put it back
done.
on. Then your finger
Yeah.
could work still, or unless you're the guy from Resident Evil 7 and he got his hand chopped off, or 8 and got his body parts chopped off
Yeah,
and just stapled it back on.
To be fair, he was kind of a zombie.
Right.
So he had mushrooms in his system, but these monkeys didn't. They just took one monkey, lopped its head off, and shoved it on another monkey.
This is weird. And why? Why?
Because they
Why?
wanted to prove that they could.
But
And
is
they
there
technically did, but it didn't quite work.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's kind of like a Frankenstein idea, but like what they need is like some mythical stuff like The Reanimator. That's a movie also based on a H.P. Lovecraft story, worth looking into at least once. He's got special goop he's able to just put into a dead thing, and it brings it back to life.
like
reanimating.
What's that game, Connor?
What?
That you just kill people for fun.
Put goop in them.
Oh, Swordsman?
No, it's like the sandbox game.
People Playground.
Yeah, People Playground. There's like a syringe that you just jam
In
back
life,
into, like
yes.
you could burn their whole skin off and just jam it into their skeleton, and they'll come back.
In this case, it would. I think if it's a skeleton, that's probably wouldn't work. I don't know the rules of the Reanimator.
The Reanimator goop.
It's like he was able to do it with just a head. I know that.
And their body came back?
No,
Oh.
the head came back.
So like
Just the head.
that's weird.
Yeah, the body also did come back because they
Do you
also
think you'd
spurted
wanna
it.
Do you think you
with
want to
juice.
live as a head only?
I mean, that's the part I can see and hear things with.
I mean, just ask Futurama.
I'd rather live as a head than just a body, if you catch my drift.
Well, Scott Lang did it.
If somebody presented me with a way to live forever but as a head, I'd probably think about it. Like, they ensured that I will live forever, but as, like, Richard Nixon in a jar, like in Futurama.
Do you think somewhere
I would
Walt
totally have
Disney
an
is a head?
Armadillo body.
Do you think somewhere Walt Disney is a head in a jar?
Frozen under Pirates of the Caribbean at Disneyland.
But do you think we have reanimated his face now? By now, it's 2021. Like, it's been how many years since?
Also, I do want to
He's
say, I like
died.
how that started with, like, oh, they froze his body to, they chopped off his head and froze his brain. It's like, he just had lung cancer. It's like, man, chop his head off.
Just give him the iron lung. Damn.
At that point, I don't think the cancer could have,
I know.
I don't think the iron lung would have helped the cancer.
God.
He had a hole in his lung instead, like I don't know. What did
Anyway.
polio actually do? Why did you need an iron lung with polio?
Because it would cause your lungs to, like, literally stop working.
All
that
the
what-
iron lung did was maneuver your lungs for you.
It
Well,
would
yeah, I
it would
know
make
that, but I wasn't sure if it was because what the polio actually did to the lungs, I guess is my point.
Anyway,
Yeah, polio. That's the real horror story.
that's the real horror story. And ending on polio,
Give it.
Just like
the secret word for today's episode is polio.
the secret word is polio.
The real
Ah.
the real horror story of American society and just the world society, actually, not Americans, because Americans suck.
Remember, kids, check your candy for polio.
Check your
And
candy for
razor
polio
blades.
and for razor blades. And kids, if you get mad that your parents are looking through your candy as soon as you get home, don't be mad, because they're trying to save your life. And
Yeah,
on that note,
My parents would have to search my candy all the time.
because you're peanut intolerant.
Yeah, and one time they found a full Panzer just in a Twix bar, dude.
A full what?
Full Panzer.
Really?
You know, full German tank.
Yeah.
Full
Yeah.
Panzer.
Yeah.
In my Twix bar.
How the hell do you carry that?
Can you believe that?
How the hell do you carry that?
I want to know how
back?
they resealed the package.
And on that note, thank you all so much for watching. Please make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Please make sure to like the video if you haven't
And
already. And
Happy Halloween.
yes, I was getting
Happy
that.
Halloween.
And happy
Blah,
Halloween,
blah,
ladies and gentlemen.
Blah, blah, blah.
Blah, blah, blah.
I find you at night.